Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our reactions to Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe? Today, launching Phase 3 of our Dark Universe. Let's get started.
I'm doing a zombie movie, you're doing a haunted house, or maybe not haunted house, spooky house.
Spooky house.
Spooky house.
Spooky house.
Excellent. Everyone just chop that out and put it on your various soundboards.
In 2017, Universal Studios announced the birth of a new shared universe of monster movies, bringing their classic horror icons into the contemporary franchise film landscape. But after the critical and financial failure of its first installment, the project was indefinitely abandoned. Now, in 2023, the powers that be have called upon one pulp horror devotee and one snarky film critic to unearth the concept. I'm Dylan Roth.
And I'm Dalton DeShane.
Are you afraid of the dark universe?
Welcome back to Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, the podcast where we attempt to resurrect Universal Studios' failed cinematic universe of monster movies, one pitch at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Dylan Roth.
I'm the second host, Dalton DeShane.
And together, we have been building out the Dark Universe into an ongoing narrative to rival the MCU.
Welcome to Phase 3!
Phase 3, everybody!
Phase 3!
The hiatus is over. We are back with an absolutely mammoth slate of films.
We are back for quite a long time.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
Get used to us. God damn it.
Yeah.
You're going to understand the full weight of what... You know how we tend to over-deliver.
Yeah.
Not over-promise, because I think we always do go through with what we say we're going to do.
We kind of under-promise. We say like, oh yeah, these will just be rough pitches, and then we under-promise for sure.
Now, on an individual, episode-for-episode level, I don't think that we're going to be increasing our workload.
Please, God,
I don't think it's possible, frankly, because we've gotten to the point where we're more or less just writing these movies all the way through.
Yeah.
And then I'm scoring them all the way through, and then you're editing them, and it's just... We
will not grow any individual episodes larger. I will buckle from that pressure.
Yes, which is I'm gonna address one of the questions pretty early on. But the nature of this, you're gonna understand pretty soon that we have given ourselves a fuck ton of work to do.
Yes,
over an extended period of time. We are committing really hard to the next year.
Should we announce the size? Because we're gonna get into some questions before we start the slate announcement.
Yeah.
But maybe we should kick off with a big announcement, which is just the size of Phase 3.
Phase 3 it's monstrous.
So in our first phase, we started with The Mummy, which we inherited, of course, and then we made 5 movies. Each of us did 2 individual pitches, and then we did The Dark Legion, House of Dracula. In Phase 2, we went bigger. We each did 3 pitches, and then Dark Legion, Mummy's Hand. In Phase 3, we will be doing a grand total of 15 movies. That is 3 that we're writing together, and then 6 that we will each individually pitch that will take us into 2025.
Yeah, so get ready, mark your calendars for the next year and a half of your lives.
There will be some brief hiatus.
And considering it's 2026, dear God, this is only number 28 out of 80. Why am I thinking this will be done quickly?
Is in there. We will still take a couple weeks off for the holidays. And we'll get to some other, I think really only one other break other than holidays that we'll get into.
And then when we're done, we'll probably take a nice long nap before jumping into what will end up being a whole new saga. Because I don't think we've ever talked about this on the air. Internally, we have been referring to the story we've been telling since the beginning as the Death's Door saga.
Yes.
Phase 3 will conclude the Death's Door saga.
Much the way that Phase 3 of the Marvel Universe concluded the Infinity Saga.
Yeah. Yes. And we have a lot of ideas about how to try and avoid the burnout that we're all experiencing right now in the multiverse saga of Marvel. But we don't have to worry about that much for a while. Because
just trust that Phase 4 will be something very different.
Yes.
And yet still very much a piece of what we are currently doing.
Yes, we will not be...
That's all we'll say for the next year and a half.
Yeah, until then, we're going to have plenty to talk about, Dalton.
Yes.
So before...
Oh my God.
So our plan for this episode is we do this in the beginning of every season. We like to start by reflecting a little bit on what's come before, and then announcing what's ahead. This is sort of our Comic-Con style panel. And this time, even more so, because we have a lot of questions from our fans that we'd like to answer on the air.
The last time we did this, we didn't really have that many fans, or people had like just started finding
listening.
us because of the first Dark Legion. But we didn't have a Discord yet. We didn't have the Patreon. And so while we had a few questions, it was nothing like now where we have a very thriving community of Dark Universe fans, which is incredible.
Yeah, we're really blown away, and we're really very grateful. Anyone who does not have people to talk to about this show and is looking for people, this is a service we provide.
Can't recommend our Discord enough.
Yes,
everyone is super cool and super fun.
For $5 a month, you can go to patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton and join the Are You Afraid of Dylan and Dalton Patreon and Discord server, where just a truly lovely and positive and inclusive group of people talk about horror movies, talk about video games, talk about comic books, but also talk about this show, and are just delightful.
And there's some other big benefits we'll get to at the end of the episode that come with your Patreon subscription, but we'll save the big ad read, for the end.
So we've been getting questions. We've been storing them up for the last couple of, I guess for us, it's been months now.
Well, before we get to the fan questions, do we want to answer the big question in all caps here on our prep sheet?
Dalton, how have you been spending the hiatus?
Well, Dylan, I have been spending the hiatus enjoying a tenable work-life balance. It's been a nice, we haven't been on hiatus that long. As we're recording this, it's still September. And so we really got like maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks off.
Yeah, during which we've still also been recording Are You Afraid of Dylan and Dalton, the bonus podcast.
Our bonus pod. But I've been working on my novel. I've been working on my album. I've been enjoying having days off, because normally when we're in production mode, my weekdays are spent doing my day job, as well as working on the album and the novel and my comic series, and then the weekends are all dedicated to this podcast, so their days off do not exist. I have had some days off. I have gotten to relax a little bit. I went home and saw my family for a little bit, and I've started learning Esperanto through Duolingo. I am learning the language invented by an ophthalmologist in 1887, intended to be a universal second language that not too many people speak, but I am speaking Esperanto now.
I have to tell you that if my problem in life was not having enough leisure time, I don't think that that's how I would spend it.
Yeah, I'm reading books too.
Okay.
I'm reading
in
some
English.
great books in English.
Okay.
Although I would like to read some books in Esperanto eventually once I'm farther along than a 17-day streak. So yeah, I have been basking in not having to pitch and I finished my Black Lagoon screenplay.
Yeah, that's right.
Which now that the writer's strike
is over,
hopefully I can try to make some moves to maybe making the first real Dark Universe movie.
Yeah.
We will see. So it's been a nice break. How have you been spending the break?
I have the opposite problem, really. I mean, I famously don't have enough work, and doing this podcast helps me to not only fill the time that I don't have paid work, but it helps me to prioritize my paid work when I have it. Even back since high school, I've had the problem where if I don't have enough to do, I don't do anything. My grades always used to slump when I didn't have marching band or the musical. And it's kind of the same that way. That's not to say that my work life hasn't been, exciting. I've had some cool interviews, especially now with the writer's strike over. I have some stuff coming up that I'm excited to promote. But I always feel like I am more full when my schedule is full. And like, especially now that like my kid is in daycare during the day, because if that doesn't happen, then there's no way I can. If I can't fill that time, it feels very silly to be paying for daycare and to not be spending more time with my son.
Sure.
So Dalton, I've missed this. I've had the advantage of I've been able to start work on the first script for the first movie that we'll be doing. We deliberately scheduled it so that I would have the shorter of the two breaks between the two of us.
Yeah.
Because you need more time off, and I need the opposite of that.
And I've kicked off the last two phases.
You also have. It was only fair.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about why we made that decision in a little bit. But I don't know, been writing, been watching a lot of movies. I'm currently doing Hooptober, which is fun, watching a lot of horror movies. And
we just guested on the Film Majors podcast to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah, check that out. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. We also talked about No One Will Save You and Frankenstein and
I
zombie
talked about the
movies
creator a
and
little
the
bit.
Creator, yeah.
So I don't know. It's been for me a lot of really great family time, and obviously still working. But I'm really happy to have this way too much work on my plate again.
I am happy to be back. You know, I as much as I complain about the workload, I do love doing this show. I love coming up with the ideas. It is very satisfying, and I love the fan base that we have curated. It's just, it's a lot.
Listen, it is my big fear about about this show, especially now that like we have an audience. It's no longer what if we do this forever and no one listens. Like people are listening. We're getting a lot of positive feedback, getting great vibes. My worry really is that I'm going to give you a stroke. is that you're going to continue to do all of this work, and I'm going to just keep pushing you.
I'm going to venture to say that we're the hardest working podcast out there. Not because we self-produce. We do all the editing ourselves. We do all the promotion ourselves. We do the graphic design. Well, I mean you, but between us, we do all this stuff. We do the editing, and we write entire movies. We book guests. Like we don't have a third person on the team. It's just us two.
It's just the two of us.
And we wrote a 160-page screenplay for our season 2 finale.
It truly is
challenge
nuts.
you to find another podcast out there that works as hard as we do.
Yeah, people are always, the more I go into what makes this show, they're like, you do this.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It sounds like a lot. Really, for a podcast?
Please give us your $5 is basically the point.
Yes, we would love $5.
I would love nothing more than $5 right now. But anyway, so that's been our hiatus, but the hiatus is over.
It's over, and it will be over for quite some time. Yeah.
It's spooky season. It's Halloween time. It is time to answer your questions and let you know exactly what to expect from phase 3 of the Dark Universe.
Yeah, we're going to kind of throw fewer curveballs at you this season in terms of just conceptually, I think. We'll see. We're not going to remove that element altogether. We've planned a lot of roadmap, and because we're now looking at the third act of our saga, Dalton and I have to coordinate a little bit more closely because we have like certain things that we have to prepare.
Yes, we do have to now consult each other on major character deaths and things like that, because we need to make sure that our plans for the kind of finale are still on track. So yeah, we do have to share a little bit more about our pitches than we have in the past, but we're trying to still keep as much a surprise for each other as humanly possible.
Yeah, and hopefully that will also naturally lead to lots of fun surprises for you all, our listeners. So let's just roll into the questions that we have from our wonderful fan base. First from Discord, our friend Rhiannon Oliva asks, which Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe movie do you think would have been most wildly successful had it actually happened?
This is tough. I mean, I definitely hope it's the Black Lagoon because it's the one that I have written. But no, probably, gosh, I mean, it's tempting to say, I feel like the Wolfman movies are big crowd pleasers because they sort of maybe more accessible than a straight up horror movie. And they have very charismatic stars in them.
I would like to think that, yeah, I guess they have, of the projects that we've done, kind of probably have closest to the Stephen Sommers Mummy tone.
Yeah,
I guess.
The thing is that a lot of the fan favorite pitches are ones that are probably too weird to have actually taken off. Like, yes, Phantom is like one of the, absolute favorites of our fan community, but like a musical starring characters we've created that involves the invisible, like it's just tough to be like, is that a Hollywood slam dunk?
That has a cult hit all over it. But
same thing even with the Invisible Man, because it's got vampires and Nick Morton in it. Like it's, even though it is sort of a crowd pleasing comedy, it's a little left of center, whereas the Wolfman movies are straight up blockbuster style fare.
Well, that's what kind of, it feels almost like a cheap answer to do, but like I kind of think House of Dracula would be the first, maybe like $200 million weekend out of these, just because it is the event that people that have been leading up to. It has Dracula in it, which is a draw. although not not necessarily. The last Voyage of the Demeter didn't exactly didn't blow up the box office, but
it's also the Avengers promise, right? If people, even if the movies before hadn't been enormous smashes, if people liked them enough, word of mouth would probably get people to House of Dracula, So yeah, that would probably be and then, if people like that, maybe Mummy's Hand would be even bigger.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's the answer. Because like the ones that we're most fond of, and the ones that we hear from fans are the most fond of, do tend to be weirder. Like I think that when we had that wonderful fans in Discord, they took like a poll and listed all their favorites, and it made our dreams come true. The ones that seemed to be the most represented on the most lists, and they were all very diverse, were Black Lagoon and Phantom of the Phantom.
Yeah.
Black Lagoon, of course, is a standalone movie. It could, potentially, fingers crossed, be like a big hit movie on its own.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Phantom, for all the reasons you said, Phantom of the Phantom is just fucking, it's too weird.
It's a little inside baseball for the Dark Universe.
Joe Stando.
Honestly, having played Return of the Phantom, should have gone that route for time travel and reincarnation.
On the Discord asks and also the voice of our Jack Griffin asks any plot ideas that either of you came up with and then had to ditch because something you watched, old or new, happened to do it.
I don't know if I've had to ditch anything because of something I watched. I was definitely afraid of that with Frankenstein, and I looked into adaptations where like the doctor was a woman, or like that did a sort of gender swappy thing, but no one had done the sort of particular take on it I did where it was she was Frankenstein's daughter, like the family connection. And so I felt comfortable moving ahead with it. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had to pivot some ideas, but and for the most part, it's things that I watch inform my first take, right? Like I did Invisible Man as a comedy because just in 2020, there was a great horror Invisible Man that I knew couldn't be topped, or that I couldn't at least find a fresh take on that would be significantly different. So I had to pivot all the way away from it. But I don't think I've like started getting an idea and being, deep in it and then watching something and being like, fuck, Simpsons did it,
On my end, I did Dracula Lives not long after Renfield came out.
Sure.
And I had a lot of different versions of that story. I talk about it on the episode that I threw out for various reasons. Mostly they just weren't clicking. But some of them had Renfield in a much larger role, or even as the central character. And although my take would have been very different, and I was like, I didn't want Renfield to discourage me from doing this story, I think the fact that Renfield exists and was, in my opinion, like not very good.
Yeah.
It kind of made me want to go off in another direction a little bit. So for a while, I thought I would still have Renfield as main character, but it would just be much, much heavier and like have a completely different structure. Ultimately, I don't think it super painted what I did, but it's something I had to keep in mind the whole time writing that character.
One thing also is when I came up with the intro for House of Dracula, where it turned out that Jonathan Harker was Van Helsing, that was something that I think it's the Hammer Dracula does something similar, where you find out that Jonathan Harker is actually there to kill Dracula.
Yeah.
But he wasn't Van Helsing. And so I was like, I thought it was still distinct enough to keep, but I did have a moment where I was like, maybe this isn't original enough and we should find a different take. But I think our take ended up being different enough. And also, like, if we're doing an homage to the Hammer Dracula, who cares? That movie rocks, and also is not in the public consciousness anymore. And so, like, if we could do it as homage or even direct attention to it, I don't think anyone would see it and be like, oh, this is ripping off this movie that came out 60 years ago,
Next question comes from Instagram. It's from Joseph Angel, who asks, who is a director or actor who you want to bring to the Dark Universe, but you haven't found a spot for them as of yet? It's tricky.
I should have been preparing for this more, because I feel like constantly I'm watching a movie and I'm like, oh, I need to get that person in the Dark Universe. And then I don't write it down and I forget who they are.
I try to I have a scratch pad where I sometimes will just write down the name of an actor and I'll be like, oh, I want them for something. Like I've cast somebody who I think I'm going to have be a lead in phase 4 if we go in the direction I think that we're going, where I'm like, oh, that's this character for me. Absolutely.
Unless I cast them first.
Unless you cast them first. Right? There's a lot of time for that to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the big one's Stephen Root. I love Stephen Root.
Sure, we got to get him
I
in
have
here.
not found a place for Stephen Root yet, and I'm looking ahead. I honestly have no idea if he's going to turn up in Phase 3. Stephen Root is one of my favorite character actors, like bar none. I'm obsessed with Stephen Root. And it's just also, it's so funny that I always talk about who's done a Star Trek in various movies, and I almost never pick Star Trek cast members.
Yeah, that is funny. I think the two big ones for me, I've kind of already incorporated, which are John Carroll Lynch, who is my favorite character actor, who played a bit part in The Black Lagoon, and Brad Dourif, who we finally got in the Dark Universe in an unnamed role in The Mummy's Hand, along with a lot of other iconic horror actors that we've been wanting to sort of get involved. But with some of them, it's just like hard to do that in a way because they're so iconic. Like, what's his name? Pinhead Bradley.
Doug
Bradley, or Tony Todd, where it's like, it was very hard to find roles where you wouldn't just be thinking of them as
right. And so you managed to solve that problem all at once in a really interesting way.
Yes. So a lot of those actors have been brought in. And yeah, I really need to start writing down the actors I see where I'm like, ooh, they got to do a Dark Universe.
Yeah. And in terms of directors, that's a little bit harder because sometimes the more distinctive and exciting a director is, the more intimidating it is to try and be like, I want to write a movie that would be a match for that director. I am, however, working on, if everything goes well with the pitch that I'm currently writing, I'm going to get to scratch a big one off the bucket list. So I'm not going to say it here, but in the 2 episodes from now, when you hear that pitch, then you will hopefully know who I'm talking about. And I'm very excited to kind of write towards that style.
Directors have always been the hardest part for me. Yeah, again, because like, sure, I could say like Ari Aster, but Ari Aster is such a distinctive style where it's like writing a Dark Universe movie for Ari Aster, like that would have to be sort of the grounds of the pitch. And like, I have so many other things I'm going off of, like our characters and where the storylines need to go and what part of the horror that like, by the time I've come up with a pitch, I'm like, well, Ari Aster wouldn't fit for this, you know?
Exactly. And like a lot of times these are people who usually write their own material.
Yes,
like Jordan Peele is one of the people who, if you were really doing the Dark Universe at Universal, especially with his relationship with them, you would absolutely want Jordan Peele involved.
Or Del Toro, right?
Or, yeah, but it's like, how does anybody but Jordan Peele write a Jordan Peele movie? It's just,
and we even had our very first episode was like, maybe Frankenstein could be Del Toro, but Del Toro is going to do his own thing.
Doing
so he
one.
can't, but the one movie that I did kind of actually write for a director was Black Lagoon for Issa Lopez. Like knowing before I even started formulating Black Lagoon that I wanted Issa Lopez to be a director in the Dark Universe. The whole tone of Black Lagoon was really aimed towards Tigers Are Not Afraid. And I think that probably helped inform, Rita being a Mexican character and the very child-focused horror of it, but that's been the one case. I think in Phase 3, most of my concerns are about now our characters. Black Lagoon, I had more freedom because I was introducing a new character. And so I kind of totally started from scratch and was like, well, whose vision would I kind of want to see on this? And Issa Lopez was the answer.
Plutonium on the Discord asks, has the fan reception to the podcast been different from what you expected?
I don't know if we expected any fan reception. I mean, we hoped for it.
Sure. I was pretty confident in the premise. I was very bullish about like what we could do with the show because for those of you who don't remember, Dalton came up with the concept and I was really excited about it. I'm like, oh, you can do this. We can have a cast and we could have music and blah, blah, blah. And Dalton was kind of like, hold your horses, one thing at a time.
I came up with the concept years ago that never went anywhere. I just happened to mention it in passing at a screening of The Matrix with Dylan, and Dylan texted me a few days later and was like, no, we have to do this.
I wasn't able to stop thinking about it. I was like so excited by this. This would be so much fun. So, I mean, I believed that this would get a listenership. I don't think that I anticipated how passionate people would be about the stories we were telling. And maybe because that was just too flattering an idea for me as somebody who was like an amateur storyteller.
I am very used to having really good ideas that never find an audience. And so as much as like I liked the idea of the Dark Universe thing, finding an audience anywhere online or is very difficult. And so while I definitely hoped this would find an audience and I knew the quality of what we were doing was good, it was kind of like, there's a million podcasts, it's going to get lost in the ether, you know, but I've definitely learned things from building the audience for my band and for the comic series. And so it wasn't like I was coming at this like as a total, and neither of us are coming at this as noobs to online.
Oh, sure.
You know,
I mean, like I used to run a comics and movies criticism website, and you know, now I'm freelance in that business. I've been in bands forever.
Yeah. At this point, we have enough experience that like we definitely knew how to market it a little bit better. And so the fact that it did find an audience and that everyone has been so passionate has been incredible. It's definitely, yeah, like the fact that people want to know what happens to these characters. It's a lot of pressure because like, I feel like in the early days, it was just like, oh, we can do whatever we want. It's like Ultimate Marvel, right? We can just kill people off, you know, we can go wild, and we still are going to do that. But there is, now we do think about like, oh, fans are going to react to this one way or another.
Yeah. If we kill our babies, they're really not just our babies anymore.
Yeah. And we're still going to kill them.
And we're going to, here's the thing, and we'll get into this a little bit later, not in too much detail, but I feel like we have to say that as much as I know that this is a comfort food for many of our listeners, Dalton and I are both very much of the feeling that the artist's job is not just to make the audience feel good, it's to make the audience feel a variety of feelings. And we are going to make some unpopular decisions in the stories ahead.
Remember, this is a horror franchise, and horror movies don't always have happy endings.
And so my big request of all of you, and so far, I mean, you're all a very understanding and patient audience for the most part. And the fact that our process is part of the product, I think helps to humanize that process. Please give us the benefit of the doubt and wait for stories to be complete. Wait for phase 3 to be complete, or whatever it is that we're working on. Before you come for our heads, because you are entitled to whatever your feelings are, but we have to make some of these characters suffer because this is a horror franchise, and we're also attached to them,
and we are not going to do it just for shock value or just because we're not going to treat anyone as disposable, and we like these characters.
Okay, now. Just gonna say, depending on the story, it should have a happy ending. If you're doing a Dracula story, I mean, yeah, Quincy Morris died, but still, it's ultimately a happy ending. So you should take into consideration what your source materials are.
Just as much as you do. And we also want to give them opportunities to be happy, which is why we ended Mummy's Hand the way we did. And there's going to be more opportunities for that, as you'll hear when we get into our slate. But we've got a plan. Just stick with us. And we love you. And we love our characters.
Yes. Please continue to be nice to us. Frankie on the Discord asks, what has surprised each of you about what the other one has brought to the table or pitched?
I mean, I was surprised by the musical.
I was really trying to surprise you with the musical. I had a lot of work and it surprised me.
Very caught off guard by the musical. But also, like, I just want to say, like, you know, Dylan is remarkably shockingly good at taking feedback and implementing it. You know, we've talked about how you think maybe your early pitches are not as strong as the later ones. That's because you've gotten way, way better.
Thank you.
Every time me or one of the fans has been like, oh, there's an act 3, you know, issue here or whatever, you take that and you put it into your next pitch. And like you actively try to take all the feedback that's given to you and use it to improve your future stuff, to the point where Phantom and Dracula Lives, I think, are, you know, head and shoulders above your early pitches. Not to say the early pitches were bad, but just that you have grown significantly as a screenwriter. You know?
Well, thank you. I'm really proud of what this show has done for me as a writer, and I'm really grateful to our audience for giving me the motivation to keep like always trying to get better. One of the things I really love about the show is how fast the turnaround is between the work and the feedback.
Yeah.
Because that's something I kind of thrive on. And it's been really gratifying and really motivating to be able to work on something and know that in just a matter of weeks, I'm going to receive either praise or like constructive criticism, or most often a really nice blend of the two. The thing that you surprised me with, even though I know you to be very funny, like when you first brought in The Invisible Man, and it's this slapstick comedy, it was not at all what I was expecting from you. And what's more, you kept downplaying, like, oh, I'm not a comedy writer, but if I were, here's the thing that would happen. You're like, no, you're writing comedy. You're writing comedy right now. And you continue to work a lot of humor and a lot of levity into this stuff. And like that's in Monocle too, right? Like that's Creepshow style EC Comics type stuff, but it's also funny. It's like a mean and sometimes dry wit, right? But I have appreciated the way that like you keep finding new different ways to flex your horror muscles. Again, a thing that you do in Monocle, because that's an anthology book with a variety of different kind of topics and tones. We don't talk about Monocle enough on this show. Everyone should read Dalton's anthology horror comic Monocle. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm never surprised that something's great. I mean, this is what you do. You're really,
thank you. That's
you're really
very
good
kind.
at it. It's mostly just been, it's been nice to be able to sit here and participate in that creative process and feel like there's always something that's going to catch me off guard. And even as I learn the rhythm of how you write as we've written together, which kind of gives me the inside view into your creative process, you still throw me for a loop about once an episode.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's good.
On Instagram, Andy AM23, who also said some really kind things about the show in this comment, so thank you so much, says, who is one character that was introduced in phase 2 that you wish had been introduced in phase 1?
I actually don't have a good answer for this because I really like the pacing at which we've introduced things. I think our first Dark Legion was really balanced in terms of how many monsters we had. It was like a really basic core team. And a lot of our like big players, like even like the side players like Carol Lemley were already established. I don't think Hunter would have fit in that early. And I really haven't introduced too many other characters that have stuck around. I reintroduced Brendan Fraser and then killed him off. Evelyn would be the one thing that like maybe would fit into phase 1 because you want to kind of grab the Summers Mummy fans.
But I'm not really sure where she would have fit in early. I guess we could have had her show up in House of Dracula in some capacity. But I think that might have been just one too many elements of that.
If the one thing would be maybe more Dracula time in phase 1, like Dracula, because now we have this issue where we had Dracula Lives, but then kind of had to write him out a little bit. And so our time with Dracula has actually been very small compared to every other monster. And it would have been nice to have a little bit more time with him before turning him mortal at the end of House of Dracula.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, that's something we're also continuing to deal with as we go into phase 3. Like it's hard the place where we left Dracula feels like it's so close to the climax of our series that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of opportunities to tell more stories with him between now and then. So yeah, a little bit more Dracula would be cool. I mean, I guess it would have been nice to have some more time with the Brixton Bloodhounds before we lose Larry.
Sure.
Because now, like, killing off Larry was a decision that was made late in the game, right?
Yeah.
Now the Bloodhounds, as I kind of established them as sort of this gang, as this team, they're fractured already because we lost Casper during that movie and now Larry's gone. So I guess if we could have had more time with the Bloodhounds as a whole, if they could have been introduced in phase 1 and we would get like one whole movie with them as a group, that might have been nice.
Yeah.
From the Discord, Rouge Goat asks, you are both fond of some of your characters. Do you reserve any kind of veto over things that happen to them, or do you roll with what the other person chose to do? This actually leads really well into starting to announce our slate, because right off the bat, we made a decision that in phase 3, we were going to trade custody of our characters.
Yes, we did this a little bit in House of Dracula, where we sort of divided our team in ways that each other could write the characters we didn't get to write in the rest of phase 1. But we've decided to extend that to all of phase 3, where I think I think the Invisible Man being the only exception, because
Right,
you
'cause
sort of
I already got him once.
you got him in Phantom of the Phantom, and we haven't gotten a proper Invisible Man sequel, so I'm going to retain the Invisible Man for this phase. But the rest of our characters, we have decided to swap films so that we can each get a chance to write an entire movie following up on someone else's franchise and lore and everything that they've established.
That's part of the idea, is that because maybe we're a little precious with these characters, and because we have to continue to take big swings and do interesting stuff leading into the climax, we are going to treat these characters a little bit differently. We're fond of all of them, right? Like Gwen is like my biggest remaining character, who's like, this is a character, she's my favorite.
Yeah.
She's important to me. Gwen's in your stable now. And whatever happens is canon. And I got to live with it.
Well, and also, like, with this question, like, yes, I'm very fond of my characters, but as a writer, it always has to be story over character. And I think that can be sort of a distinction that causes friction between writers and fans, because fans experience the story, but they cling on to the characters. And there are some fans that get very protective of characters and build them up as sort of, they're your friends, they're the people you spend time with. But as a writer, I can't be thinking about what I want to happen to the character, because that's not always a good story. So when it comes to things that we've had to veto, we've really only vetoed things for story purposes. And that's going to be the same in phase 3, because we kind of know where we're building. But like, even when we're writing together on like Mummy's Hand, if someone does something with a character, the only times either of us, I think, jump in and make notes isn't because like, oh, you can't do this to this character, that's too mean. It's really like, hey, this actually kind of fucks with the flow of this, or it goes against our theme.
Yeah, it has to be that it's not working for some story, for some reason that's internal to the story.
Yes.
It can't be about like, come on, don't do my guy like that.
Yeah.
We can't really intervene in that way.
I mean, even like, we didn't want to kill Larry, but it was the thing that was best for the story. Now, there are things that like you do have to consider, like when it comes to like the fridging of female characters, or things we talked about, like killing the black character and stuff. Because
right, and we talked about like we couldn't kill off Jenny or Carol at their wedding. Like that was, we just weren't going to do that.
Some of those things, even if the story would benefit from it, like I think I talked about in our planning episode, like there were definitely interesting story things that would come from Gwen dying. But you do also have to consider the number of people that have used things like that as a crutch, or have done so carelessly. It kind of doesn't matter if your story would be good for it. You have to be sensitive to the larger topic around it, because so many people have done it badly that it will leave a bad taste in the viewer's mouth, or things like that. So that does come into play, but you got to kill your darlings.
Yeah, and gosh, we're going to.
So let's get into some of these movies.
So first and foremost, our very first release in phase 3 will be 4 weeks from now in November 2023. And that's going to be my first Mummy movie that I'm writing. We're talking about swapping it. We're kicking off with the Mummy once again. This is going to be a story in which Evelyn O'Connell takes center stage. And it's going to turn the Dark Universe upside down and set the stage for phase 3.
Okay, but what has me curious is, does it have a new title?
We talked about this being the Death's Door saga. This is called The Mummy Heaven's Gate.
Will we see Nick Morton in this film?
Yes, Nick Morton will be in it. They are co-leads at the moment. I'm in the midst of writing it. I would say that this is more an Evelyn movie.
I like that. Very interesting.
So that's kind of going to be a little bit different there. I've got some really crazy mythological ideas that, even though I guess this is not like a huge thing to spoil, these are not all going to be released in the same order in which they take place. This one is the kickoff of the phase, because I think that thematically and in terms of like, you want the beginning of this chapter to feel like it's an important, like it really like kicks the ball off for what's going to happen at the end. This is the beginning of the story. that we're going to be telling for the next 15 months.
And I will be clear, I have no idea what it is. I don't know what Dylan's talking about. I don't know what these mythological things are. I'm going to be in for just as much as a surprise as the rest of you.
I'm going to be throwing in some shit that's just going to be, I hope you like it, because we're really going to be married to it.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope I like it too then.
Yes.
So then in December, following The Mummy Heaven's Gate, we will be doing the first ever Dark Universe holiday special. This is going to be a special co-written between the two of us that involves the entire Dark Legion and will feature them getting together for a holiday together. The idea is that this is going to be like, Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special or something like that. We are going to write a full screenplay for it, but one that's more around like 45-ish pages. And God willing and schedule willing, it will be fully voice acted by our Dark Legion voice cast.
Yeah, I've run it by a couple of the cast members, and they're interested. They're excited to do it. It really is just going to depend on it's getting towards the holiday season. Yeah. We will see what shakes out, but that's what we would like to do. Either way, you're going to get that episode.
Yes, we will get a little mini movie starring all of our Dark Legion getting into some holiday shenanigans, and I think that's going to be very, very fun.
So that's the first two of them. Mm-hmm. After that, we're doing another interesting kind of experiment where we're going to be kind of messing with each other a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Specifically me messing with you.
Yes, that's fun. And honestly, that'll probably be good, especially after everything I throw into Heaven's Gate. You can be able to pay me back a little bit if you don't like it.
Yeah.
The next two films form something of a structural duology that together we're calling House of Frankenstein.
Yes.
There is not going to be a movie in this phase that is specifically called like Frankenstein : something that has Frankenstein in the title. Instead, these are going to be two movies that both kind of jump off from where we left the Frankenstein family, as it were, heading to Paris at the end of The Mummy's Hand.
If you remember, Gwen has gone with Cassie and Victor off to Paris. And so these two movies will take place at the same time from different perspectives. And the way we're doing it is that I will be going first in January 2024 with a Native American werewolf in Paris. And this will follow up on Gwen Conliffe mourning the death of Larry and figuring out what it is that she wants to do with her life and how she feels about being a werewolf following several kind of disastrous outings in the previous Dark Legion films. And that's all I'll say about it for now, but it will be a Gwen-focused movie. And whatever I write in A Native American Werewolf in Paris, Dylan has to stick to in his next movie. So if I write something that happens with Victor and Cassie, or something that happens in Paris, or a timeline shift or something, Dylan has to roll with it.
Yeah, and that's going to be really fun and exciting. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Often you have ended up with the harder job a lot of the time. Like we talked about, like having to invent the Black Lagoon thing, having to figure out what to do with the Invisible Man, and I get kind of the easy ones. So I'm excited that this is going to be like, I like constraints like this.
Yeah.
But you have the basically license to make this as hellish for me as you want.
I'm not going to fuck with you too much, but I do have a couple things that you are going to have to figure out how to deal with.
I'm excited for it. So this leads us into a question from Instagram from Will Larder 25, who says, I really hope Hunchback of Notre Dame is added to the Dark Universe. I can understand why you had mixed feelings about using him. I can't remember what you both said, but I remember it being mentioned. I enjoyed the 1923 film, and if anyone can bring the story into a modern context, it's you two. Thank you so much for saying so.
Yeah, well, I have an idea for a sort of modern, except it's set in Toronto in 1900.
Well, I surely hope you're right, because in 2024, the second part of the House of Frankenstein duology is going to be The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I mean, we're in Paris. We
have to, right? And I think we picked that on purpose when we were doing this.
Yes, we did.
I have a few ideas about what I want to accomplish with the characters here, but I'm deliberately not plotting too much or thinking about the story too much until I have heard Dalton's pitch for Native American Werewolf in Paris, because I don't want to come up with an idea that I then have to try and squish into your idea. I kind of want my story apart from certain themes and ideas about the character that I've come up with, to spring from your story and to speak to it thematically. So I'm trying to stay hands off for now.
But to be clear, Victor and Cassie will be in it, and it will be sort of an unofficial Frankenstein sequel, although I don't know how much of a center stage they'll take.
I am imagining at present that structurally the protagonist of these movies, that the protagonist of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, in terms of who our viewpoint character of, is going to follow
Notre Dame.
Victor and Cassie.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens
as well.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, so Hunchback has been in our plans for a long time. It was originally my idea. I was going to do, especially after I wrote Bride and Frankenstein, I was like, I really want to follow this up with Hunchback. But then once we decided to trade characters, it went to Dylan. So excited to see what he does with it.
I think you might have shared with me some of your thoughts, because I have the germ of an idea that I can't say with 100% certainty is completely mine. I think you might have said something to me, or we might have had a conversation. We'll find out in a couple of months. That'll be in February, which sounds like it's far away, but it's going to sneak up on us very quickly.
Yes, it is. Then in March of 2024, it's my turn again for another sequel. And this sequel will be The Phantom of the Opera, Love Never Dies.
You're crazy for this one, Dalton.
Yep. This will be my musical episode. I should really start writing the music for this now.
Well, you're probably going to want to be more involved than I was. You're going to have to, I expect that this is where you're going to want to one-up me with your production skills.
We'll see, but I will be writing a musical. Now, it is called Love Never Dies, which is famously Andrew Lloyd Webber's terrible sequel to The Phantom of the Opera that takes place on Coney Island. My movie will not be drawing plot-wise as much from Love Never Dies as Dylan's did from Phantom of the Opera. I actually still haven't seen Love Never Dies, but I will before
I have no intention to see it.
before I write it. But I will say that this movie will continue to follow Jenny and Carol on another phantom hunting expedition in a musical format. And that is all I will say about The Phantom of the Opera, Love Never Dies for now.
I'm so excited. And because you don't have to surprise me with it being a musical, I'd like to get to sing in the episode.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
You can cut that. It's not a challenge. No, I don't want anybody to be mad at you on my behalf. Because last time I didn't get to have you sing on the episode because I couldn't spoil for you.
Yeah,
that it was.
I'm glad you kept it a surprise.
Yes. But you know, we do sing. We're vocalists. So Samantha the Demon Cat from Discord asks, in the average pitch, not something on the fringes of the universe like the Black Lagoon, how do you balance bringing in returning characters from other films and introducing new characters?
Again, I think it's story first. And well, actually, you know what? Maybe that's not true, because I remember for Black Lagoon, I very intentionally wanted that to be completely standalone because I had gone so full like universe building mode with The Mummy, right? And I had brought in Brendan Fraser and I brought in Evelyn O'Connell, and I was kind of like, okay, I dipped my toe into like the wider universe canon building stuff. Now let's take another pivot. And so I do kind of feel like I alternate a little bit. That said, if there's a really fun way to bring someone in, like Nick Morton into The Invisible Man, I'm going to take it, where I think I never want to involve someone just for like the Marvel thing of like, look how everything's connected, right? And now Captain Marvel's in the post credits of Shang-Chi. Why? We'll let you know in 15 years, you know, like, I want to make sure there's always a purpose for it. But I think definitely at sometimes I've been like, okay, I'm going to stay away from that while I have the opportunity to do so. Because as the universe gets bigger, the crossovers happen kind of more and more naturally. And
Right,
I think we're
because
definitely going to see that in this phase, you know, especially because we ended Mummy's Hand with everyone sort of as a family saying they're going to help each other. So I imagine in this phase, our Dark Legion is going to be closer than ever before.
Yeah,
And you might see some more mixing of characters.
We're definitely going to, there's never going to be the excuse of like, oh, well, these two characters don't really know each other or don't really hang out. That's why that no one's coming to help.
Yeah.
Now, like, they've stated they want to be there for each other. So we kind of have to pay that off. For my part, I like to avoid ever having a character show up just for the pop, just for the cheap pop, like you're talking about that Marvel effect. But if there's ever a situation where it would make things more economical to bring in a character we know then to introduce another one. I'm thinking about when I have Gabby show up in Phantom of the Phantom. I had to have Jenny do some sleuthing. And for a minute, I'm like, oh, really, she'd have to get like a private investigator. This isn't really her field. And I'm like, oh, she knows one in New York.
Yeah.
Gabby should show up. That's how she was there. But I wasn't able to work her into the wedding in The Mummy's Hand, or to have Teresa show up, as much as we want to have Teresa and Carol interact, because that seems like that would be fun, because it just never made sense for her to be in any of these situations. So yeah, the story really dictates, but I am somebody who, I don't know, like I guess it was 12, 15 years ago now, watched The Dark Knight and didn't understand why like the sort of portly cop wasn't called Harvey Bullock. And now I'm like, oh, because Harvey Bullock has a bunch of baggage associated with him, and you have it be Harvey Bullock, then people think too hard about what his role is, or get upset when he dies or whatever. Just, it doesn't have to be. You can just be a character. There's lots of cops in Gotham. So I think that, I never want the baggage to be a hindrance, or just to be too much of an excuse for a joke, or to be able to be like, aha, I know that guy. That's a little cheap.
We're about 5 months into our phase 3. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and we will continue our rollout while answering your questions here at the Dark Universe Comic-Con panel extravaganza. We hope you like what you've heard so far. We've got a lot more surprises coming up on the rest of the slate, so please stay tuned.
Attention! On your feet, you maggots! We're the Film Majors, the only podcast about movies other than the one you're listening to right now.
On our show, we discuss big topics such as what makes a good In Your Walls movie, who our favorite on-screen toxic men are, and what's going on, our super famous film news segment.
We're working professionals in the film industry, getting in the trenches every Friday with a different movie, armed with nothing but grit, wit, and 3 BAs in cinema studies. Popcorn is our ammunition.
The couch is our foxhole.
And the cinema is our house of worship.
Find us wherever you listen to your podcast.
Now let me see your war face!
Welcome back to phase 3 of Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe? We are only a third of the way through our phase 3 slate. We've done 5 out of 15 movies.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot going on. We hope you're all keeping track. We hope you're all taking notes and marking your calendars.
We'll do a summary at the end where we just list them all as sort of like, when Kevin Feige like points to the big timeline behind him. You can't see that, but we'll
point
read
to it.
Yeah.
I am also planning on doing one of those sort of announced threads that like Marvel will do when they have that panel, where it'll just be all the key art and the announced titles and brief log lines. So you can refer to that. That'll be on our X page and our Blue Sky and our Instagram.
Yeah. Don't call it X.
Yeah, I can only do it like that while making that face.
Well, let's get to our next question. Our next listener question.
On Instagram, Togue is here, asks, I just want to know if Kong exists here.
That's a great question.
It's a great question. Here's the thing. Granted, we've kind of abandoned the kayfabe that we are doing this as part of a commissioned project from an anonymous Universal Studios executive, which means that like it's our choice to enforce the rules or not enforce the rules based on like what kind of best gamifies the project, right? Like having these rules about what characters can and can't appear is mostly a way to challenge ourselves.
Yes.
To stick with the gimmick and
give ourselves guide rails.
Otherwise, this could turn into super Wholock very quickly, right? Like we don't want it to be a thing where like, all right, well now I have Captain Jean-Luc Picard showing up. The Enterprise.
And you would do that.
Yes. So the thing is, the rights to Kong are like really confusing and have been the subject of legal battles for like the better part of a century. And so it's kind of questionable whether or not Universal has the rights to make another King Kong movie or not. Warner Brothers certainly really, really, really wants you to think that only they have it, which is why King Kong shows up in the 2 different sort of character smorgasbords, Ready Player One and Space Jam Legacy.
In the Monsterverse, right?
Yes. But the thing is that they, through the Monsterverse, have the rights to Kong, but also still have to license Godzilla from Toho. But the thing is that according to certain court rulings, Universal has Kong, but has lent it to Legendary, which moved distribution of their Kong movie to Warner Brothers so they could do the Monsterverse. It's confusing.
And Universal just opened a Kong ride at Universal Islands of Adventure a few years ago.
One of the things that kind of speaks to them having the overall rights to the character.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like if we wanted to do it, we could do it because we don't actually have these constraints, and also because we're happy to bend these rules when it serves what we want to do in the story, right? At the moment, I just think we don't really have an idea of what we would want to do with Kong that's worth breaking the rules over.
Yeah, I think we still have so much to do within our framework that I don't think it makes sense for us to break it yet.
Bringing in a giant monster right now would also potentially be game breaking.
Yeah.
We
haven't had any kaiju yet.
Yeah. And listen, we'd love to do giant monsters.
We're open to kaiju.
We love them. But yeah, for the time being, no Kong. We won't say never. Hopefully this show runs, for the rest of our lives. And
yeah, when we're on phase, 14, we'll have to break the, break glass in case of Kong. Yeah.
For ape. But thing is, a very similar cheat to what we would have to do to have Kong in the mix. My pitch for April 2024 is going to be inspired by an RKO Pictures classic, which is what King Kong was, that was remade by Universal in the 80s, which is what King Kong was.
Yep.
I think that was 76, but Cat People.
Yes.
Inspired by the 1942 arcade.
Putting out fire
with gasoline. I love that
Okay, you had me excited before you got weird.
track, and I really like the 1942 RKO classic. Paul Schrader of Taxi Driver and like First Reformed fame did a remake of this for Universal in 1982, which I actually have not watched yet. But I do know that the poster and trailer declare it to be an erotic fantasy. And that is the tone.
You love your erotic films.
It turns out that I do.
A lot of your films have been very
erotic. It's going to be pretty horny. So I want to kind of balance the sort of didactic feminist thriller energy of the original Cat People with the erotic fantasy. I do think that mine will have less incest than Schrader's. That's one of the things I know about Schrader's version. But we'll see. I have a really specific idea of what I want to do with this premise. If you're unfamiliar with Cat People, look up the trailer to the 42 version. That'll give you a pretty good idea. But essentially, we are following a character who believes that when she becomes too sexually excited, will turn into a panther and kill whoever is exciting her. And I think there's a lot of really interesting meat on that bone. And I cannot wait to start writing this particular project. Got to wait a while. That's spring 2024.
And even further out, in May 2024, you've wanted it. You've been asking for it. We will finally get a standalone sequel to The Invisible Man.
Woo!
I will be pitching The Invisible Man's Revenge. Our first movie since phase 1 to center on Jack Griffin. This movie will be about Jack continuing to try to find his place in the world as an invisible man living amongst everybody else. He didn't really get a chance to look for that in the first one because he was swept up in this first robbing houses and then hunting vampires. Every time we've seen him since, he's been involved in Carol and Jenny's shenanigans or Dark Legion stuff. Now he's on his own. What does he want for revenge for? I know, but I'm not telling. But he will be definitely out for blood and also out to find how to live his life.
All right. Well, I'm very excited for that, Dalton. After that, in June 2024, I get to pick up the story of one of Dalton's babies in Beneath the Black Lagoon. This story is in a very, very, very early phase of development for me. I'm still kind of tooling with what I want to do with the story. What I know for sure is that I'd like to use this opportunity to explore the metaphysical and cosmic horror implications of the Black Lagoon. I don't want to totally throw away the tone of Dalton's first script. And I really want to explore the next phase of Hunter's life as a young adult. I think that it's fun that we've created this character who we get to kind of watch grow up. And that's something that's exciting to me, of getting to kind of figure out who Hunter is on their own. Now
we
that
see
they're grown up.
a glimpse of them in Mummy's Hand at 15, but really, just in the context of the larger plot here, we haven't really seen what they've been up to since they were 12 in the original Black Lagoon, you know, and
so now
how
we get
they've
to
changed.
get a little bit closer, figure out what's important to them now, and like who they're growing up into, and what might become of that character as they get older.
Yeah.
So here's a question that we have from Instagram from Joe Blundell 99. Any chance bonus episodes from the previous phase, namely Dracula's Daughter, Black Cat, and get fleshed out into formally canon films as part of phase 3? As you have already noticed, we're not doing that as part of our phase 3 slate. We've decided to kind of just count those as part of phase 2 as sort of side stories that we can mine ideas and characters from.
Yeah, I think the idea is those pitches are very close to what we intended the show to be originally, which is like, well, this is what I would do with it. Maybe this would be the character arc. Oh, well, then we could involve this. Okay, and that's what the movie would be, right? We decided to go above and beyond and actually, you know, write these things. But I think those ended up in such good shape that, like, we know what we could pull from them. It almost feels, first of all, it would feel, at least for me, I would not feel like I had the right motivation to really develop them into a script for this, because it would feel like I was just covering ground we've already covered. And so to put the effort into writing like a 70-page scriptment on something that people already know the arc and like what we're trying to do with it, that doesn't seem as worth the time for this podcast as it does to come with something completely new and fresh and something that's going to take you by surprise and sweep you up, right?
Yeah, that feels like a different show. That feels like a show where we would like have an arc, like we did a season of the show where we started by breaking the story of something and then spent the whole year iterating on the story.
Yeah.
Like that's a different show. And also it's weird to do it without the people who originated the pitch as well. And it's like our guests are so generous with their time in terms of being willing to kind of like come up with those pitches in the first place. We cannot ask them to dedicate the amount of time to collaborate or even like to give notes or co-write or produce those stories. If they wanted to do that,
if like we had a guest leave here and be like, hey, I actually want to write that into a thing, I'd be like, great, come back and we'll do it on the show.
But it's as we've been impressing upon you all throughout this episode, this show is so much work.
Yeah.
And like we get to get the expenses of the show so far taken care of by our Patreon, but the time that we invest in this, that's free real estate, baby. That's we can't expect that from anybody.
As we've said, those movies are canon, and I think what you can expect is for characters from those films to start showing up potentially in phase 3 and beyond. Those characters are not off limits. So if you're someone that has been skipping the guest episodes, now would be a good time to go back and catch up on them, because they may be used in future installments. And I think actually we have an example of that with our next movie.
Yeah, that's right. And Dalton, this is actually one of yours.
In July, summer movie blockbuster season, I will be pitching Van Helsing, a movie following up on the adventures of Adelaide Van Helsing, first introduced in our Dark Legion video game episode with Giovanni Colantonio. This was a character originated by Giovanni for the Dark Universe Omnibus video game, then used in Dylan's Dracula Lives pitch and given more shape as a sort of bloodthirsty monster hunter who doesn't care who she has to kill as long as she can kill some monsters to get revenge on them for the deaths of her lineage. And I will be giving her her own film. Now, I will also say about this one, things can change. This is way far out there. But my intention for this is to kind of be our Civil War, in that it will be Van Helsing versus the Dark Legion. I'm not saying they're going directly head to head, but Van Helsing is going to have a mission of her own that is going to be at odds with the Dark Legion. And set them on opposing paths. So expect to see a lot of crossover in our Van Helsing movie, much like the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing has much crossover with other Universal monsters. It's going to be inspired by that.
A lot of love on our Discord lately.
So just wait till July.
All right. We have a question here from Discord from Samantha Demon Cat. What do you consider to be some of the biggest challenges of writing in a shared universe, both in the sense of an overarching continuity, meaning works aren't really standalone, and also in the sense of the universe being a collaborative effort? I can say that my first obstacle that I think I've gotten a lot better about in my later installments is my tendency with The Wolfman and with Werewolves of London to to feel like I don't have to have a really solid, concrete ending for this characters because the story is going to continue. That was really the root of some of my third act problem, is that my Wolfman ends with them riding off to their next adventure when I don't really give a great ending to this particular adventure.
Sure.
And then with Werewolves of London, I thought that I had done that, but you're right. It didn't really have the climax that an individual story should have. I think the danger in this format is to accidentally be writing episodes of the show instead of pitching feature films.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's something that we even criticized on the show about My Mummy Returns, is that it set up a lot of stuff, but some people didn't think that the resolution of that was satisfying in and of itself. So that's definitely a big pitfall, and I think something the Marvel universe is going through right now.
Absolutely. It gets difficult where, like, one of the reasons why I've gone really easy on Blue Beetle. I like that movie a lot, and one of the reasons is that it's so refreshing to see like a DC movie, that's like a superhero movie, not like Joker or whatever.
Yeah,
where it's like, this is the movie, this is it. If you'd never seen another superhero movie before, this could be your first one. This
could be your only one.
Could be your only one. This movie could be for a kid today what the first Raimi Spider-Man was to us.
Yeah.
There's almost no entry point like that anymore within the big two. And I really appreciate that. At the same time, we are telling an ongoing narrative to an audience that, like, yes, we have people who jump on with individual episodes, but for the most part, we're finding people tend to start at the beginning and listen all the way through. So it's the constraints of our show make it kind of complicated.
And the bigger it gets, like, I'm so glad I took the opportunity with Black Lagoon to write a standalone movie, because as we move into phase 3, so many of these are sequels, and even the ones that aren't sequels are so tied. You have the opportunity to do Cat People.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I put that in there, is that I really have an interesting specific idea. Cat People is, in that sense, my Black Lagoon, and that, like, this is a story where, like, oh, I have thoughts about how this can tie in with the bigger story, but it really is its own deal.
But phase 3, I'm kind of locked out of doing that, because I've got all sequels and then Van Helsing, which is a follow-up to a character that we've already established. And it gets tricky, like, especially now that we've switched characters, because I found myself, when brainstorming for a Native American werewolf, I'm like, well, what do I want to do with a werewolf movie? But that can't be the only question I ask, because I'm not starting from scratch. It's, what do I want to do with a werewolf movie that also fits with what Dylan's already done and what we've already established in the Dark Legion films? So I have to work within that framework to figure out something that's interesting to me and something that's additive, again, and not subtractive from what we've done already. I don't want to tear apart anything we've made to build something else in its place, right? That's not really
sure. But I hope
storytelling.
I hope you don't feel like you have to be too precious about it, because, like, yes, there are certain themes that I hit on both of those that I carry through with Gwen from the beginning. But as long as something is true to the character, I really hope that you don't feel like you're unable to tell your own kind of story.
Yeah, no, not at all. But it's like, so for example, and I'm being very deliberately vague, but I have fleshed out my plot for Native American Werewolf, and it all hinges on one specific, like, I'm like, this plot element needs to be there. I'm so invested in everything else going on around it, but it doesn't work unless I can have this plot piece intact. And I need to figure out how to make that plot piece work with the plot already established in the previous films. And so I'm going to have to go back and reread your pitches and hope I can think of a way to make that work in a way that doesn't destroy anything you've built, and will still allow that movie to be the movie I want it to be. And that gets tricky, because now this phase is more collaborative than it has been in the past. And there are more toes out there to step on, you know?
Yeah, we've been building Runway in a very vague way for a while. And now we have a couple really specific things we have to do. That gets harder. That is part of the challenge that the question refers to, where we can't make, like, we don't have the agility that we would have had in the past.
Yeah.
We have to maintain a degree of a status quo, or to alter it at a pace that we've agreed upon.
But speaking of what we've been building Runway to.
Yeah, in August 2024, as always, in 2 parts, we have our big Dark Legion crossover. Now, you've probably noticed that we have not named 14 previous movies yet.
Yes.
That's because, just like, part of the gimmick of the show is that we're doing this in the shape of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the shape of the Infinity Saga. Phase 3 will have 2 Dark Legion movies.
I'm going to die.
We're going to fucking die. Those are so much work.
Yes.
But part 1 of the sort of Infinity War of our story is Dark Legion Death's Door.
We've been calling this the Death's Door saga. This will be basically 1 year after Mummy's Hand, our summer blockbuster mode. And obviously, we cannot reveal much, if any, of the plot details, but it will involve the Dark Legion battling their biggest threat yet. And that's all we can really say.
We've been building story towards particular moments in Death's Door since House of Dracula. Like, this is of all of the stories that we've been talking about. We talked about how we were trying to avoid the Age of Ultron problem with Mummy's Hand because we didn't really know what the plot was going to be, and we had to figure out how to fit another chapter in here. This is the chapter that we knew we had to get to.
Yeah. If anything, we maybe will have to be more flexible about this one because we have so much of the plot in place already that may have to pivot as we go, but we'll see. We're kind of writing towards it. And then I will say, I mentioned another hiatus. After Dark Legion Death's Door, we will take a short break just to regroup. Not a full phase break, but just to catch up on editing and sleep and get some ideas going for the next part of phase 3.
Yeah.
This will sort of be the end cap of part 1 of phase 3.
But once again, if you've been counting, you know that there's we're not exactly imitating the shape of the Infinity Saga in part because we had some fun stories we wanted to tell, and in part because we wanted to give ourselves a little bit more time before we did a massive crossover again and all the extra production. There will not be 2 movies separating Dark Legion 3 and 4. There will be 4. Each of us will be pitching 2 stories. And this brings me to a question from Joe Stando. Would you set a later phase movie in an earlier era? Not so much a period piece prequel, but like a never before told story following a previous status quo, like the way that like Black Widow is, or I guess you could also consider like Ant-Man and the Wasp, something like that. Not right now. It's not something that I would say we wouldn't do. I didn't have an idea to do that in this one, but between our Infinity War and Endgame analogs, rather than doing what the MCU did, which was to bounce around through time to avoid, like, I guess because they have various production reasons to do this, to avoid like spoiling anything about the status quo changes that happened in Infinity War, we're going to specifically spend some time exploring the new status quo that is established at the end of Death's Door.
Yes, which obviously we can't tell you, but things will change for our Dark Legion after Death's Door. And we are going to explore that change fully through 4 individual movies, none of which are sequels to previous entries in the Dark Universe.
Yeah, that's part of it. So we're going to also take a little break from the characters that we had just explored. So we're not going to go directly from a big crossover to more individual stories about the Dark Legion. We are going to jump off here, and this is where you're really going to get more of the new or standalone stories.
That's right. Yeah,
they're kind of backloaded for that reason.
Yes, we've got a lot of opportunity here to do some unique stuff. Like in October 2024, a year from right now, we're planning out more than a year from where we are now.
This is fucking insane.
I know. Okay, so a year from now, the pitch you will be hearing is
Night of the Living Dead.
That's right, a public domain film, which means it's fair game for the Dark Universe.
In October 2024, I will give my take on George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. I'm going to write a zombie movie. Which for me is like, I talk about not being a horror person. I talk about sometimes, usually horror movies don't scare me for whatever reason, because I'm simply too literal-minded a person. And I don't believe in supernatural. Zombies freak me the fuck out. I've always had a problem with zombies, and so I'm kind of excited to scare myself with this. Frequently, the thing that freaks me out about zombies is the contagion metaphor. But obviously, they're a lot more loaded than that. Romero had a lot more to say about zombies than about like, hey, wouldn't it be scary if you got sick? But my big thing that used to fucking scare me just to death about zombies was the idea of carrying something dangerous and not knowing it, or catching something. So I'm imagining that's probably the angle I'll be taking with Night of the Living Dead in terms of what is scary about the zombies. But I have a whole year to figure that out.
To figure it out.
So yes, Dalton, What are you pulling out of the old toy chest?
In November 2024, I will be pitching The Old Dark House. Now, this is actually a Universal classic horror film directed by James Whale. You can watch it now. It is great. So this is fully within the wheelhouse of the dark universe. And this will be, I mean, again, this is way far out, so I can't say for sure. But the plot of the original Old Dark House is that a group of people who are lost in a storm end up at an old dark house that is home to a very strange and spooky family. And mine will follow basically those same bare bones. This is going to be my spooky house movie. And I think in keeping with the Old Dark House, mine will be a horror comedy. I'm going to lean into the comedic aspects of the Old Dark House to stay true to the original, but I do want to make it actually scary as well. So I'm going to see how scary I can make this horror comedy when we get there in 13 months.
Yeah. And that's exciting, was like being able to, we've been doing a lot of monster movies, obviously, because that's where our heart is, but taking this little deviation between the last two Dark Legion movies in phase 3. Please don't read anything to me saying the last two Dark Legion movies.
Last two of the saga.
Yes, of the saga. Don't freak out. We get the opportunity to do kinds of horror movies that we haven't done. Like I'm doing a zombie movie, you're doing a haunted house, or maybe not haunted house, spooky house.
Spooky house.
Spooky house. And speaking of...
Spooky house.
Do that again.
Spooky house.
Excellent. Everyone just chop that out and put it on your various soundboards. Instagram, Joseph Angel asks, since y'all have covered and expanded into other genres such as musicals and comedy, what other genres would you like to explore going forward? This is my craziest poll for the Dark Universe so far.
Yes, I needed some explanation for this one when you pitched it to me.
So when we were putting together the slate for this season, especially after we expanded the gap between the last two Dark Legion movies from 2 months to 4, so that we had a slot that like I wasn't sure what was going to go there. And we had a couple different thoughts, different horror things that could fit. But I decided to go on Letterboxd and just filter to just Universal movies, regardless of genre, and see if there was anything that jumped out at me as like, here's something that would be fair game and would be really weird to try and reinterpret in our universe. And what I found that got me really excited was Field of Dreams. That's right, the wholesome movie about baseball and dads. In December 2024, completely outside of baseball season, will present to you Field of Nightmares. It'll be a sports movie. It will be a horror movie. I think
Oh, geez. Oh, geez.
probably a comedy. I have the basic idea, and what happens in terms of the tone of that movie really depends on what feels natural as I'm writing the story.
Look, like no pun intended, this is a big swing, and I respect it.
This could very well be our Space Jam.
Now, I do want to leave the door open for something that we haven't talked about. So I'm just going to float this now. We're not going to make any decisions on it. But, you know, as Joe Stando asked if we would do any movies set earlier in the timeline, currently Field of Nightmares is set to come out in December 2024. I feel like we should leave the door open for potentially a second Dark Universe holiday special taking place prior to Dark Legion Death's Door, just to keep it in sort of the same realm we've been dwelling a lot of. If people really like this year's and we have the room, that could be fun to do a second holiday special and then move Field of Nightmares to January. We have an entire year to figure it out.
All of these, like, we try really hard to keep the show on schedule because, for one thing, we want to keep that release cadence going for you guys. For another, it helps to enhance the challenge of the show. If we have more time, we'll go more insane trying to perfect our drafts. And that's not really what this show is, right? We have to workshop on the air. So these release dates are, you know, they are tentative. We're trying to keep them as best we can.
We're in the realm now of Kevin Feige announcing the Inhumans movie.
Yes.
You know, things can change.
Boy. Okay, almost done. From Instagram, Balthazar in Real asks, can we expect to see more standalone Universal monster movies, i.e. The Invisible Man 2020, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Cats 2019, to be folded into the universe the way the Mummy 1999 was.
First of all, Cats has been folded in via.
No, they used the casts of Cats. They
That's
didn't
true.
make Cats canon.
The cast and the butthole technology we use in.
Yes. So on the production level, I will say that there have been some things in the Universal Vault that I have considered folding into the canon as part of backstory for some of the projects that we're working on, but I'm not going to say anything for sure, and I'm definitely not going to name names. But the next thing on our list kind of does pose that question to you, Dalton.
Yes.
In January 2025, what are you bringing to the table?
In early 2025.
That's how long it'll take us.
In early 2025, I will be fully adapting a film that we have brought into our canon already, or Dylan has at least. I'll be doing The Exorcist.
I'm just so curious because so we get The Exorcist again, kind of on a weird rights technicality. Right now, as we speak,
owned by Blumhouse.
Blumhouse has purchased the rights to make 3 Exorcist movies. The first of which Dalton and I will be seeing in just a couple days.
Yep, and we'll talk about on the bonus podcast.
Yes, and those are Universal distributed, which means that it opens the door for us to do The Exorcist.
Yes,
so long as we do it before they make 2 more Exorcist movies.
Yeah.
Now, so my question for you is, as The Exorcist Believer is a sequel to the original Exorcist, will your version of The Exorcist incorporate any of the existing Exorcist canon that we have alluded to in Phase 2?
It's too early to say for sure, but I think it doesn't matter.
Okay.
In that I think my version is going to be so standalone that it probably will not have anything to do with the plots directly of the previous Exorcist movies. That could change. It might involve Pazuzu. We have put in Pazuzu in our universe, but I think my take is going to be so specific to the dark universe that it's not going to be drawing too much on characters or plot details from other Exorcist movies.
Okay, so that sort of answers that question. I'm
Sort of.
intrigued. Again, we don't want to tell you all
That's
too much.
2025.
Yeah, first of all, we're going so far ahead now that like a lot of this stuff, even if we were to say in concrete terms, something that would really just be tying our hands.
Although, interestingly enough, I have more ideas for my Exorcist version than I do for some of the movies that are coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah, that's tricky. Like I tried to, when we put this list together, I wanted to make sure that there was nothing really, really close that I had, just basically only the very barest idea of, except for Hunchback.
Yeah.
Because I want to go in blind for that one. I put Cat People where I put it because it's the one that I'm currently most excited to write.
Yeah.
But we can't kick off Phase 3 with Cat People. It's too far afield from what the rest of the show is about. So.
But how are we going to cap off Phase 3?
Phase 3 will end with another 2-part, probably, unless we go to 3 parts next time, the grand finale. The Dark Legion 4, whose title we are actually not going to tell you.
This is the one title we are not going to reveal.
Yeah. You remember how Kevin Feige told people back when the Phase 3 slate was announced that they can't tell you the name of the 4th Avengers movie? I mean, after it stopped being Infinity War Part 2, because that would be a spoiler. And then it was called Avengers Endgame, which could mean fucking anything. You really actually don't want us to tell you the name of Dark Legion 4 yet.
Yes, it is a spoiler. So we probably will not tell you until after Dark Legion Death's Door.
Yeah, that's when we will announce it. So, a year from now.
I like that you wrote down in our prep sheet here, every third act needs a third act. That has been one of our ethos on the shows. What is the third act to your third act? And in Phase 3, it's going to be Dark Legion 4.
Yeah. Phase 3 is Act 3 of our universe, and Dark Legion 4, that is that final heat where we have to kick it up one notch more to make sure that the audience gets the biggest thrill. And gosh, we got so much work ahead of us, Dalton.
So just to summarize the last hour of podcasting, let's read through these one at a time, all in a row, so you can get the full vision of Phase 3. Kicking off next month, we will start with The Mummy, Heaven's Gate, followed by the Dark Universe Holiday Special, followed by A Native American Werewolf in Paris, followed by The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and those will make our House of Frankenstein duology.
Notre
After that, we've
Dame.
got The Phantom of the Opera, Love Never Dies, an original musical from Dalton Deshane. Cat People, The Invisible Man's Revenge, and Beneath the Black Lagoon.
Then next summer, we'll have Van Helsing, Dark Legion, Death's Door, Night of the Living Dead, The Old Dark House, Field of Nightmares, The Exorcist,
And finally, Dark Legion 4, title withheld.
Yes. We are going to take you into 2025 with the Dark Universe. Nobody, not even Universal themselves, ever dreamed the Dark Universe starring Tom Cruise as Nick Morton would get this big, that it would have 29,
29, I think, with the Christmas special. Yeah.
individual films in it.
God.
We have done it, or we will do it.
I mean,
we haven't
honestly,
done it yet.
I hope that people want that second holiday special, so this can be just a neat 30.
Oh, that would be nice.
That would be nice. I mean, you all let us know, and then also that'll buy us one more month before we have to do the final.
And by buy us one more month, you mean we'll have to write another thing.
Fuck. Listen, if there's one takeaway we want you to have from this, it's that you've got a lot of exciting stuff coming your way, and that we really can't wait to share it with you.
Yeah.
If there's a second thing that we want you to walk away from this, it's that please support our Patreon.
Yes, I was gonna say
because it's just so much work.
Patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. Here's what that gets you. You're $5 a month. First of all, there's a week-long free trial, so you can make sure you like it. But you're going to get access to our bonus podcast, which comes out once a month on the week, one of the weeks where we don't have a regular podcast. So far, we have talked about The Pope's Exorcist, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. We ranked all 13 Halloween movies. Coming up, I will be pitching a Lost reboot. Dylan might pitch his idea for how to establish the X-Men in the MCU. We might watch all 13 Star Trek movies.
Yes.
We might do a reading of the original screenplay for the 2017 Mummy before it was completely changed by Tom Cruise. We have a lot of stuff we're doing over there, so you can get that.
And it's also like what we are doing right now. We have all these ideas that we want to do. We think that people are enthusiastic about it, but the Discord also helps to guide what we do on the show. So what you get for that $5 a month is not just this beautiful bonus content. It's a hand on the steering wheel for the beautiful bonus content.
And a bunch of people to hang out with. And on the other week of the month where we don't have a regular show, we do movie watch-alongs, where you can hear Dylan and I talking and giving commentary to some sort of classic movie while everyone else is in text chat and chatting along. It's so much fun. We just did one a couple weeks ago that was a blast with everybody. So there is content every week if you're a patron between this podcast, the bonus podcast, and the film screenings.
Yeah, we're making sure you get your money's worth. Like, because this show is and will always be free for not only because we love making it for all of you and sharing it with as many people as possible, but because we would really like not to get a cease and desist from Universal Pictures.
That'd be great.
Now that the writer's strike is over, we can say we'd really love to get a job offer.
Yes, if you want to hire
a meeting
us,
from Universal Pictures.
Look, we've got 30 pitches ready to go.
but this website is free, and it is, we think, a very high value product that you're getting for free. So
tell your friends.
Yes, please tell your friends. Please keep sharing. Please keep circulating the tapes.
Hey, I love that reference.
And yeah, if you want to support the rest of the things that we do on the Patreon, we would be most grateful.
We will be back in 2 weeks with our first guest of Phase 3, Gita Jackson.
That's right. They're going to be bringing us a really weird pick for the movie that they're going to pitch us. They're pitching a remake of a currently out of print Universal sci-fi film called Colossus, the Forbin Project.
Which is, I believe, available on Vimeo.
You can find it on Vimeo. I think it's been
you can watch it in its entirety on Vimeo.
I'm excited to see that because I've never even heard of this film.
Me neither. I have no idea what it is.
I'm especially excited because we were emailing with Gita and they're like, please tell me no one's picked Colossus, the Forbin Project. And I'm like,
Gita, of course no one has picked Colossus,
the Forbin Project. So that'll be a fun one to do for our first one. We have so many exciting guests lined up
we have a lot
for
of
season
guests,
3. Exciting big names, people who have never been on the show before. We're starting with a homie that you all know and that many of you found the podcast through their work. And then from there, going in to get some really exciting new blood. We don't want to announce anything before we have the episodes scheduled because there's so many things that can go wrong with scheduling.
But we'll have Gita in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, just in time for Thanksgiving, The Mummy, Heaven's Gate, Dylan's first pitch of Phase 3.
Oh gosh, I hope you like it.
Thanks for sticking.
Heaven's Gate, not bad.
with us, everybody. We are very excited and tired already, but we are going to do it, and we are going to continue blowing your socks off with crazy horror stories every month. So please stick with us. We'll see you on the Discord. We'll see you online. We love you all. And until next time, stay afraid of the dark universe.
And that would be it for today. I'll see you all next time. See ya!